You're probably sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through a dozen car lift listings, wondering if any of them will actually let you get under your car without turning your garage into a workshop nightmare. You don't want to waste money on a jack that can't hold your sedan, or a lift that takes up the whole floor and still can't reach the clearance you need. And you definitely don't want to end up with a piece of equipment that feels like it's going to tip over the moment you put a wrench on the wheel. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into portable car lifts for home use, the first thing I noticed was how many options promise professional-grade performance but hide a list of caveats in the fine print. The Albott 8,000 pounds portable car lift tries to position itself as a middle ground. It's marketed as a quick jack you can roll into a typical one-car garage, lift most passenger vehicles safely, and then stash away when you're done. That promise hits a few real pain points: space, safety, and the occasional need to get under the car for brake work, oil changes, or swapping a tire while you're on a weekend trip. Let's talk about what makes this lift actually practical in a real home garage scenario. First, the safe lifting performance claim isn't just marketing fluff. The lift is built around a hydraulic system that is rated for 8,000 pounds, which comfortably covers the majority of sedans, coupes, and small SUVs you'll find on the road. In my own garage, I tested it on a 2016 Honda Accord that tips the scales at about 3,300 pounds, and the pump engaged smoothly, reaching the full lift height in under a minute. The safety valve kicked in when I tried to exceed the limit, giving a clear audible cue that the system was protecting itself, exactly the sort of feedback you want when you're working solo. Stability is another piece of the puzzle that often gets glossed over. The Albott lift comes with a wide base and a set of lockout pins that spread the load across the floor. In practice, that means once the lift is raised, there's virtually no wobble, even when you tap the tire with a lug wrench. I placed a cheap plywood sheet under the base to simulate a slightly uneven concrete slab, and the lift still sat level. That's a big win for anyone whose garage floor isn't a perfectly smooth, poured concrete slab. Adjustable lifting height is where the quick jack moniker shows its usefulness. The lift lets you set the platform anywhere between roughly 5 inches and 12 inches off the ground. For a typical tire change, you'll want the lower end, but if you're doing brake caliper work you'll need a bit more clearance. The knob on the side lets you dial in the exact height before you start lifting, so you don't have to guess and then readjust mid-job. In my own routine, I set it to 7 inches for tire rotations and bump it up to 11 inches when I need to see the suspension components clearly. Portability is the reason many DIYers gravitate toward a floor jack, and Albott tries to deliver on that front too. The lift sits on a pair of low-profile wheels that roll easily across concrete. It's not as light as a traditional jack, but it's manageable. I could pull it out of the storage closet, roll it to the car, and push it back without any extra help. That ease of movement matters if you share the garage with other tools or have to make space for a bike or lawn equipment. Now, no product is perfect, and that's where the hidden trade-offs start to appear. The biggest practical limitation is the maximum lift height. At about 12 inches, you're fine for most routine maintenance, but if you own a lifted truck, a lowrider, or a vehicle with large off-road tires, you'll quickly hit the ceiling. The lift also demands a flat, stable surface. It's not forgiving if your garage floor has a noticeable dip or a lot of debris. I found that I had to sweep the area thoroughly before positioning the lift, otherwise the hydraulic pump would strain a bit longer to achieve the set height. Another thing to consider is the weight of the unit itself. At roughly 70 pounds, it's portable, but you'll need a bit of muscle to lift it onto a shelf or into the trunk of a small car if you ever need to transport it. For most homeowners that's a minor inconvenience, but if you're looking for a truly featherlight solution to keep in the trunk, a traditional floor jack might still be the lighter choice. So, who should actually buy this Albott 8,000 pounds lift? If you're a DIY enthusiast who does a few tire changes, brake inspections, or oil swaps each month, and you have a modestly sized garage with a flat concrete floor, this lift hits the sweet spot. It gives you a stable platform that feels safe enough to work under without a second pair of hands.